birthday, President Taft. Welcome, one and all, to the K.O.E. Nation as we dive even deeper into our presidential birthday toast series. As today we raise our glass in toast to one William Taft. So, today we raise our glass to a very moderate drinker. He was known as being one of the largest presidents we ever had, but in terms of drinking, he was downright a lightweight. He very rarely drank anything other than champagne. He would let other people imbibe, and he even used scotch as kind of a way to trick his aides into sitting in on meetings that they didn't really want to sit in on. He would say, well, come on, sit down, have a scotch and a soda. And he'd have a bottle of some really good scotch, and they couldn't resist. So he was very, very light. He would occasionally drink champagne. And now I have some bottles of whiskey here, and I'll get into why in a moment. And as always, my primary source is the book Mint Juleps with Teddy Roosevelt by one Mark Will Weber. Excellent book, definitely worth a shot, definitely worth a read. All right, so now for those who don't know, there is a right and a wrong way to open a bottle of champagne, sparkling wine, what have you. Me, I have a bottle of Prosecco handy. It's the first day of harvest. I'm not going to have the best bubbly out, but turns out William Howard Taft didn't really care about the best bubbly either. There was times that he would pull the Nixon and he'd swap out the good stuff with some mild stuff depending on how many guests there were going to be. But he would occasionally have some bubbly, but we'll get into why he would have whiskey later. But for those who don't know, the right and wrong way to open a bottle of sparkling wine. The wrong way is to take this tinfoil off and let it pop and possibly hit somebody or something and break it, and all the bubbles come out and you lose all the flavor. That is terrible. No, what you do, take your thumb, place it on top of the bottle here. This little safety, you unscrew it until it's completely loose. Now, the warmer it is, the more it's going to want to shake out. Now you put your hand completely around the cork, spin the bottle on the bottom there, let it spin, let it spin, let it spin. Here we go, and you're just going to hear a slight little. That's it. And now all that carbonation and all that flavor stays in the drink you're about to have. Look how bubbly and delicious that is. For Ruffino Prosecco, it's product of Italia. It's a pretty basic sparkling wine, but look at how much bubble and carbonation you get out of that. Simply marvelous. Well, before I take my first drink, I was a little eager there. Before I do that, folks, if you're with me, if you're at home, if you are joining me, raise your glass to one President Taft, the President of these United States and the only person in American history to hold the distinction of being a President of the United States of America and to serve on our U.S. Supreme Court. So a man who held a tremendous amount of power. So, folks, raise your glass to one President and Justice Taft. Happy birthday, Mr. President. That's just downright lovely. Now, for those of you wondering, why do I have these bottles of whiskey here? Taft was known to not drink whiskey. There's no record of him ever enjoying whiskey. Well, William Howard Taft was the man with the Taft decision. He was the person that dictated what rules would decide what whiskeys became what. And what do I mean by that? He was the person that decided what rules determined if it was a Kentucky whiskey, if it was a Kentucky straight whiskey, what determines whether it is a bourbon or not, which bourbon has to be at least 51% corn, has to be made in America, has to be made from fresh oak barrels, and has to be aged for a minimum amount of time to legally call it bourbon. Taft was the person that decided this is what makes it bourbon. This is what makes it a blended whiskey. This is what makes it a straight whiskey. And a lot of the different metrics for whiskey that we still use today were all decided by one President Taft. So folks, if you're a lover of bourbon, if you're a lover of some American blend, or you're a lover of any type of all-American spirit or libation, raise your glass one more time to one President Taft. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Catch you later, folks.